Caesar's main problem is that he can't become happy, and he never has been. Every morning, he puts in all his efforts just to get out of bed. On a Monday at 5 a.m., Caesar woke up as usual, but it wasn't his room. Trying not to make any noise, Caesar gathered his things and tiptoed out. Caesar lives alone in his apartment. After tidying up, he went to his workplace. Caesar works as a concierge in the building where he lives. As always, Clara woke up to her alarm. She had no idea that someone had been in her room during the night. Throughout the day, Caesar observes the residents of the building, to whom he is invisible. Clara is always polite to him. Today she mentioned that her sink was clogged and asked Caesar to take care of it. During the day, Caesar did his routine work. Passing residents greeted him politely. Later, Caesar visited his elderly mother in hospice. The woman is very ill. Caesar always tells her about the residents of the building, placing particular emphasis on Clara. The house manager was very angry because Caesar had left his workplace without permission again. The conversation was interrupted by Senora Veronica, who said that she had a problem. Her friend's birthday is today, but there's no one to look after the pets. Caesar gladly agreed to help. Veronica sincerely thanked him. It was an ordinary day for Caesar. In the evening, he handed over the office keys to the cleaning lady, who was assisted by her son. The guy was always sarcastic about the concierge. As Senora Veronica had asked, Caesar entered her apartment and fed her dogs. Senora Veronica left piece of cake for the concierge, but he didn't eat it, giving it to the dogs instead. Caesar keeps his own apartment in perfect order. At night, he gathered some items in his backpack and took keys from one of the apartments. Clara returned late. After sorting through her mail, she tore up some letters, then turned up the music loudly and began to dance. She had no idea that someone was under her bed. Waiting for Clara to fall asleep, Caesar put on a respirator, took out a substance from his backpack and used it on Clara. It was chloroform. Caesar does this to be close to Clara. Next, we see Caesar using a syringe to transfer some liquid into Clara's creams and cosmetics. Tuesday arrived. Early in the morning, Caesar left Clara's apartment, taking her watch with him. A girl named Ursula had long known Caesar's secret and now blackmails him. Caesar is ready to comply with any of her demands, as long as no one else finds out his secret. Later, Caesar saw Senora Veronica with only one of her pets. She said the second dog was sick, possibly from eating something harmful. Caesar pretended to sympathize. For Clara, it was just another ordinary morning, like for all the building's residents. Clara noticed 12 unread messages from an unknown number on her phone and deleted it. She wished the concierge a good morning and complained about not feeling well in the mornings lately, having difficulty waking up. She also mentioned losing the mother's watch, which was precious to her. During the break, Ursula visited Caesar's apartment, demanding payment for her silence. She also hinted that she recently talked to Clara about him. Later, the house manager took Caesar to the rooftop where all the plants had withered. Caesar was supposed to water it but didn't. Caesar visited his mother in hospice again and shared everything that happened during the day. He also revealed his plans regarding Clara. In the evening, when the cleaning lady and her son arrived, Caesar lied that the house manager was very unhappy with their work. The woman was scared and thanked Caesar for speaking up for them, or at least, that's what she thought. As promised, Caesar entered Clara's apartment to clear the pipes. He also returned her watch to its place. At night, Caesar was lying beneath the bed as usual. Clara received a call from her boyfriend and complained that she had been feeling foggy all day. She also continued to receive various messages on her phone from fake numbers. Today Clara contacted the police about it. When Clara dropped something and bent down, Caesar was close to being discovered. Fortunately, Clara didn't notice him. After waiting for Clara to fall asleep, Caesar did what he usually did. He then went to the bathroom and applied a sticky substance to the shelves and other surfaces. In addition, he left spoiled fruit in the fridge. Wednesday arrived. Clara woke up to her alarm, feeling exhausted. When she looked in the mirror, she noticed an allergic reaction on her skin. Later, the concierge politely inquired if she was all right. Clara admitted that something was happening to her. Thursday came. Clara's condition worsened, as did the state of her skin. She had no idea that the concierge of their building was behind all of this. Caesar has been dreaming about Clara for a long time and has been watching her. He wants to make her look sick, all the while continuing to leave anonymous letters in Clara's mailbox, intimidating her. A whole week passed like that, and Monday came again. Clara could barely get out of bed, feeling dizzy. But today her skin condition improved. When Clara opened the bathroom shelf, she recoiled in fear. It was full of cockroaches. The insects were everywhere in her apartment. Not knowing what to do, Clara, still in her nightgown, went downstairs and asked the concierge to enter her apartment. At her request, Caesar took a dress and shoes from her closet. Clara didn't understand where the insects came from. Caesar speculated it might have been due to contaminated fruit. She asked for a disinfection of her apartment and planned to stay with her mother for a while. Of course, upon hearing this, Caesar was not pleased and said she should stay because he didn't know which items to throw away. But Clara had no intention of staying. Caesar was further disappointed to learn that Clara's skin condition had improved after her visit to the doctor. Suddenly Caesar asked if she was still bothered by that persistent admirer. Clara in turn asked the concierge how he knew about it. Caesar hinted that Senora Veronica had spilled the beans. Clara said that the police had determined that the person sending messages was from this building. Evidently, he knew Clara personally. Leaving her phone number with Caesar and asking him to call when he finished, Clara left. Later, Caesar visited his mother again and said that everything had become too complicated. For the first time in his life, Caesar has something to live for. And if he loses this, life will lose its meaning for him. Caesar intends to make Clara's life unbearable, no matter what it takes. As promised, Caesar arranged for disinfection in her apartment, but he was interrupted by the house manager, who had learned that Caesar had worked in different places and didn't stay long in each one. The house manager advised him to start looking for another job. On Wednesday, the police arrived and found a computer in the basement from which the anonymous messages were sent. An officer asked who had access to the room. Caesar replied that the cleaning lady came every evening. The cleaning lady's son was arrested. That same evening, Caesar called Clara and said he had completed the disinfection. Clara said she would return today. Caesar had prepared thoroughly for her arrival, packing everything he needed in his backpack. After that, Caesar entered Clara's apartment and crawled under the bed, waiting for her. However, Clara took a long time to appear, making Caesar nervous. Finally Clara arrived, but not alone, she was with her boyfriend, Marcos. The couple was having a good time, not realizing that there was someone under the bed. This was clearly not part of Caesar's plan. Taking advantage of Clara and Marcos being engrossed in each other, Caesar discreetly crawled out from under the bed but couldn't leave the apartment because the door was locked. Caesar only now realized that he didn't have the right key. Thursday arrived. Caesar, who had fallen asleep in the bathroom, woke up when Clara turned on the water. He overheard Clara telling her boyfriend that she hadn't felt this good in the morning for a long time. Suddenly Marcos discovered a backpack with various items under the bed. Clara was puzzled because it clearly didn't belong to her. Among the items, they found a diary and a key. Clara started feeling unwell again. Marcos was very concerned about her condition. Meanwhile, Caesar was feverishly trying to leave the house. When Marcos entered the kitchen, Caesar was forced to hide. Since the fridge was empty, the couple planned to go to a cafe for breakfast. Caesar managed to obtain the necessary key. Retrieving the diary from his backpack, Caesar hurried to the door, but Marcos noticed him. Caesar pretended he had just arrived, claiming that he had forgotten his bag with equipment and Senora Veronica's apartment keys after yesterday's disinfection, so he came to retrieve it. Marcos found this suspicious. Clara brought him the bag. After thanking her and refusing to take money for the disinfection, Caesar apologized and left. As Caesar entered the elevator, he felt immense relief, but within a minute, something darkened his day. The house manager ordered his dismissal and requested that he vacate the apartment within 15 days. When Senora Veronica found out, she was upset, because Caesar had been a very kind and responsible concierge. She said she would miss him very much. Caesar suddenly began to tell Veronica that she was lonely and that, apart from her dogs, she had no one. Caesar knows everything about all the residents of the building, so he was aware that Veronica had never been married. These hurtful words brought tears to the woman's eyes. At that moment, Clara and Marcos exited their apartment. Clara noticed that Veronica wasn't okay, but the woman remained silent. Clara was going away for the weekend with Marcos. This made Caesar suffer. Later, he called a free psychological support service. Caesar's main problem is that he cannot become happy. Every morning, Caesar wakes up without motivation. The only thing that helps him is seeing that others are also unhappy. Every night, Caesar goes up to the rooftop. He wants to end his suffering but can't bring himself to do it. That night, he noticed that Clara and Marcos had returned. The couple was arguing because Clara didn't like Marcos's reaction to her pregnancy. Marcos found it strange that the pregnancy was 4 weeks along, even though they hadn't seen each other for 6 weeks. This gave Marcos reason to suspect that Clara had been unfaithful. None of them suspected that Caesar was hiding under the bed. Caesar knows that he is the father of the child. Friday arrived. In the morning in his apartment, Caesar heard a knock on the door. Marcos was at the doorstep and said that it seemed there were still cockroaches in Clara's apartment. Caesar took the disinfection equipment and entered the apartment but couldn't find any insects anywhere. Additionally, Marcos was acting strangely. Clara wasn't home. When Caesar entered the room, he saw traces of his own presence in this apartment. Marcos demanded that the concierge tell him how long he had been coming here. Caesar didn't hide that it had been going on for 5 weeks. In a fit of rage, Marcos attacked Caesar, who managed to reach a shard and inflict injuries on Marcos that were incompatible with life. Setting it up as if Marcos had voluntarily left this life, Caesar got rid of evidence of his crime. Now, nothing indicated that there was a stranger in the apartment. That same evening, Caesar packed his belongings, preparing to leave. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. The police arrived at the house. Caesar is afraid that Ursula will reveal his secret. Clara was inconsolable, believing it was her fault. Caesar pretended to be shocked. The police officer asked the former concierge if he had noticed anyone suspicious in the building the previous day. Caesar said he hadn't seen anyone. Near his door, he found a note from Ursula, saying that she had seen him. Caesar went to her apartment. Ursula tried to wake her parents, but Caesar had already sedated them. Caesar made it clear that if she told anyone, she would deeply regret it. Caesar was planning to leave, but 2 police officers prevented him from doing so. They intended to search the former concierge's apartment because they found his fingerprints in Clara's apartment. Caesar claimed he had simply been disinfecting it. The officer found this explanation unconvincing, but the police lacked enough evidence to press charges against Caesar. Clara's mother arrived. Caesar expressed his condolences, but Clara didn't react at all. The loss of her loved one had broken her. Seeing Clara's condition, Caesar couldn't contain his smile. He had achieved his goal, but there was still something he needed to finish. Caesar sent a letter to Clara. When Clara received it, by that time she had already given birth. In the envelope was the diary and a letter in which Caesar confessed to his actions. As she read it, Clara cried. In that moment, she realized that Caesar was the father of her child. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel not to miss more exciting new products. Also, the authors will be pleased if you leave your opinion in the comments.